Hello everyone, and welcome to my corner of the world, and welcome to the Sunday Live here on June the 25th. So we have a real sunny day here in North Texas. I think we're going to be nudging 100 degrees Fahrenheit today. Good reason to stay indoors in the cool and play with some paper, stamps and ink. So if you are out there watching me today, perhaps you'll go ahead and just let me know you're there by just writing into the chat box that's there on the right hand side. I'd love to know that you're there and that and where you're joining me from today. All right, so just to remind you that my Sunday Lives are where I do a project from start to finish, from scratch, not having done any prototypes or anything like that. And so have a little think about what I'd like to do, and think about what products I have that I'd like to share. And the layering leaves stamp set was one that I shared with you last week on my live, and we made a pretty card. Can't remember where I put it now, but anyway. But then I started thinking about, well, it's a while since I've done a 3D item. So I had a little rake around in my drawer, and I've shared my drawer before, and it's got lots of bits in that I come across that I think would make good 3D items, sort of decorating them up. And I did one of these not so long ago, and I've got all sorts of things like lip balm and sort of Nivea and little candle patties and Hershey's nuggets and what have you. But when I had a look in my drawer, I came across this here, and it's a little hand cream, and it sort of comes off like this. And I figured, actually that smells quite nice. I figured that this might be a really good thing to make as a little gift, maybe a hostess gift, or if you're into doing craft fairs, that might work for, might be a good item. So that is what I'm going to work through today with you. And if you've got any suggestions, I again just pop them in the chat box, because I really looking for inspiration from you. Right, now because this is pink, I decided that I would look out the pinks that we have. So I've got Fresh Freesia, Bubble Bath and Moody Mauve. And I think I've used most of these before on my lives, but this is a colour, Stampin' Up in colour, that retired in May as an in colour and came back as a core colour. This is a new core colour, the Bubble Bath, and this is Moody Mauve, which is one of the new in colours. And then I was thinking about a green, and if you've watched me before, you know that Lost Lagoon is one of my real favourite ink colours. So I thought I might try and integrate that. And I've got a couple of ribbons that I could use. One is the Bubble Bath and the other is the Lost Lagoon. And so we might see if we can bring those in some way. Okay. Right, so I'm going to just move my camera a little bit closer to the work, just so that it's easier for you to see. I hope you don't get seasick. That should help a bit. Okay. Now, ordinarily I would probably try to use some decorative paper to make this container in some way, shape or form, but I don't have anything with pink in it, so I am going to make my own bit of decorative paper, and that's where the stamp set is going to come in. So I'm going to pull together a piece of cardstock, and we're going to load up the stamps. So this is one of the photopolymer stamp sets, which makes it really easy to see when you're stamping because you can see through them. When I load them onto a block, because you can see they're a bit squishy and squashy, I like to lay them down on my work surface and just pick up, and that way I know that they are in their, if you like, their natural state. Now you can bend them around a bit. Let me just take this one and show you. So this one here, I could bend it around a little, put a little bit of curve into it like this, not too much. In that case, I just have to sort of lay it down onto the block. So there's my curve. So if you look at what it was like before, it was kind of straight up and down. Now it's sort of got a curve. So we'll work with that. And there's my dotty stamp. Ooh, do love a dotty stamp. Let's pop that on a block. And then we've got some other little decorative pieces. I told you last week that this stamp set coordinates with a punch. I'm not sure, here it is, it's called the bow punch. We'll see if we need to use that today. We'll not quite sure about that. And then there's this big old bird. I think I'm going to use that big bird on something. And like that. So I think that's going to be it for now, and I'll probably come back to that other pieces later on. Now when I do one sheet wonders, I like to start with the largest stamp first, and these are quite close together, so let's make a start. And I'm going to go in with the Moody Mauve, and I'm just going to stamp, and I think I'm only going to need about half of this piece of paper, so I'm only going to work on half, and I can always add a bit more when we've done the math. Okay, so there's my first start. I just literally randomly stamped. You saw exactly what I did. Now I'm going to take my next colour, and I'm going to take the one that I put the little curve in, and I can then, well, that was a good thing about putting that curve in, because it now can work around some of these other pieces. So let's see what else we can do with this. And I'm stamping off the page a little bit. It looks a bit more natural when you do that. Let's go for some of this Lost Lagoon. So we can pop in, fill up our spaces. And you can see I'm just turning the stamp round and seeing where there is a gap. And there's one colour I haven't yet used, and that's going to be the Bubble Bath. And I think I'm going to use this nice big bird. in there. And oh, there's a nice space there. And there's one here. Ooh, got some ink on the edge of my finger. I managed to get a little blob of ink up there. Never mind. I think that's a bit I shall be cutting off. And then I'm going to fill in with my dotty stamp. So I'm literally going to just go everywhere that I can see a bit of a gap. And so I'm reducing all my white down. So that when I cut this out and start folding, I haven't got anything in the white, sort of white spaces. Now this would make a really lovely card, or cards. You could cut it up. If I've got any scraps left, I might just do that. But I think I'm happy with that. Okay, so there is my one sheet wonder. So we've got a lovely design on there, ready to go. Okay, so I'll just clear the decks a little bit so that I've got some thinking room. All right. Now I need to create a box. I'm going to create a box out of this piece of paper, and I've got to work out my dimensions. So my first thing is, in my mind I have a box that I'm going to do like this. That this will sort of slip into, and then it's got a lid coming over the top. That's what I have in my mind. So we've got to have a base like that. So this will be the front, and this will be the base, and then this will be the back. Then I've got to have some side pieces, so this has got to be the side of my box like this. So, and then I've got to have a piece to flap over the top. So this isn't going to be to scale, so I'm going to need to have a piece at the top flap over, and then this is going to be my flap. All right, so that's going to go like that. So that's what I'm aiming for. That's my basic bit. So now I need to get some measurements. So I've got my trusty ruler here, and when I go my widest part, it's about 2.5. So I want to have 2 3/4 to give myself a little bit of room. So that's 2 3/4 for this bit between here and here. And now I need to work out how deep to do this. So I'm going to lay that down, and I'm going to just put a piece of, let's put some this is just some dimensionals. I'm going to lay that on the top. Well, it won't stay, of course it won't. So I'm just going to use my ruler to see if I do it from this side. So that is actually an inch. So that is an inch deep. So to give myself a bit of extra room, I'm going to make it 1 1/8 inch. So this has to be 1 1/8 either side, like that. And that also means that this piece has to be 1 1/8 of an inch, like that, because that will make up my box. Then my flap. So my flap, oh no, I need this dimension, don't I? Right, so that looks like it's about 3 3¼ So I think I need to make this bit about 3 3/8. That's 1/4 plus 1/8, and this piece also has to be 3 3/8. Okay, and now I need to decide, well, how big do I want my flap? So if I have about 1 1/2 inches, 1.5 inches. All right, and now what we need to do is to work out how big our piece of paper is. So this is going to be the easy bit. So we're going to have, I'm going to do it in eighths. So that's going to be 2 6/8 plus 1 1/8 plus 1 1/8. So that's this measurement plus 2 side panels. So that gives me 6/8, 7/8 an inch, 2, 3, 4. So that's 5 inches wide. So this piece here, that needs to be 5 inches. Now comes the tricky bit. This is the next piece. Right, so we go from the bottom here. So we need 3 3/8 plus 1 1/8. So that's going to give us 4/8 plus 4 inches. Then I need another 3 3/8, which gives me 4 plus 3, that gives me 7/8 plus 7 inches. Then another 1 1/8, so that gives me 1 whole inch. So that's 8, that gives me 9 inches to there. And then the flap is 1 1/2 inches. So that gives me 10 1/2 inches. So this length here is 10 1/2. So after all of that, I need a piece of card that is 5 by 10 1/2. So let's get my trimmer out. Okay, so are you following me along so far? If you are, perhaps you just give me a little thumbs up or a little comment in the chat box. Right, so I said I needed 5. By 10 1/2. So that just fits. Look at that. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. Now then, now we need to score. So the first thing I'm going to do is 1 1/8 from each side. Right, so that's 1 1/8 on one side and 1 1/8 on the other. So it's easier to turn over and have a look. So that looks as though it's going to fit in there nicely if we look between those score lines. And that looks as though it's going to be too deep. So let's see, where did I go wrong with my 1 1/8? Let's have a look. Well, maybe it's an optical illusion, but that just looked as though it was going to be a bit... Anyway, we're going to work with it. We're going to work with it. Now we need to do the score lines here. So let's see. We work from the top. So we want 1.5 inches. So this is going to be the top flap. And then we need to have, let me see, then we need to have, we need to spell it out for ourselves so we don't do it wrong. So we need 1.5. And then the next one is 1 1/8. So that's 2 5/8. I think that's right. So 2 5/8. Right. And then the next one down, when we look here, so we've done this score line and that score line. And then we need to add 3 3/8. So 3 3/8 gives us 8/8. So that gives us 6 inches. So the next one has to be at 6 inches. Isn't this fun? I love working these things out. You know, when we were at school and we all sat there doing math and we thought to ourselves, when are we ever going to use this? Well, I'm using it. So I've got to this point. So now I've got 1 1/8 here. So that gives me 7 1/8. So I've got to do my next score line at 7 1/8. Seven 1/8. I'm not sure I'm going to do this right now. Have I got enough? Did I do it wrong? I think. Okay, so there's that. Let's just check that that fits. Yeah, that fits in there. So this needs to be 1 1/8. So is that, if that's at 6, which it is, 7 1/8. Oops. Ooh, this is looking a bit wonky. We'll see. 7 1/8. And then that should leave. There we go. Oh, I was doubting myself. Oh yeah, I was doubting myself, but it looked like I got it. I was actually right. So when we look, we have, there's the flap, then there's the top piece, then there's the back, then there's the bottom, and then this is the front. So now we need to work out what we need to cut away to make the box. So I'm going to turn it over, because it's easier then to actually see the score lines. And I'll just pop those in. Okay. So we've been going about 25 minutes, and so far we have worked out our dimensions, and we have done some one sheet wonder stamping. So look, that's how it's going to go. So we need to lose these two pieces. Let's see if I've got a pencil, so I'm not going to mark up too badly. No pencils. No pencils. Right, we're going to just gently make a little mark so I don't. So I've got to lose those two pieces there, because that goes like that. I've then got to lose these pieces, I think. Yes, I've got to lose those pieces. They've got to be trimmed out. Let's get this out of the way. It keeps moving and getting in my way. And then this is going to be a tab, and then this is going to be a tab. Right, so let's get some snips and dive in. All right. So I'm just cutting on the sort of what would be the inside of the score line, so I don't get the score line left on my box. Okay, so let's okay, so this piece is going to go like that. Perfect. And then we've got some tabs. So once you've kind of got your size of your card and everything sorted out, and your stamping, I think this is going to be quite a quick project to do. But hopefully by me sort of showing this to you, how I work it through, it will give you a confidence to take an object and work it through yourself. So any thoughts, anybody, from what we're doing so far? Don't be shy. Let me. I can see that there's some people that have joined me. So, right, here's the test. Let's put this in. Oh, actually, it goes in quite nicely, like that. So there we've got our cute little gift box with our one sheet wonder. Now, I'm thinking that these corners are a weeny bit on the raw side. So I'm going to use a circle punch to just trim them off. So this is like the 2 3/8. So I'm just going to put a tiny tip in like that to just, I've got some more decorative punches, but I've put them away. Just shows you being tidy isn't always the best. But I think that looks a weeny bit better. Okay, so now we're going to be out with the double-sided tape. Hello, Jan. It's good to see you. I'm so glad you're able to join me today. Right, so these tabs, I want my raw edges to go to the back. So I'm going to put double-sided on these pieces, and I'm going to be quite generous because this is going to hold something that's sort of got a bit of bulk to it, and I don't want it falling apart. Alright. Alright, so that's going to be my tabs inside, and then these two pieces are going to go in, and this is going to go around the outside. So I'm going to put tape on these two pieces, and again I'm going to put 2 strips per side, just to make absolutely sure that it's a good firm box. So what's the weather doing in your part of the world, Jan? It's really hot here in Texas. I've spent the last few days working on my garden, but I'm out there at like 7 o'clock in the morning before it gets too hot and unbearable. Alright, but it now means that I have to get up early in the morning or go out late in the evening to water my plants. And this year I've started, rain and muggy. We had some rain on, I think, I'm trying to remember, I think it was either on Thursday or Friday night, and some really high winds that blew 4 peaches off the tree, which I was very unhappy about, because the tree doesn't have too many this year. I'm not quite sure why. But I started a herb garden this year. It's the first time I've done herbs for many, many years. And so I am looking forward to using some of those herbs when they mature a little bit. And then when I was in England and I was visiting my sister a couple of weeks ago, she has an olive tree in her garden, and they have pretty cold weather there in the winter, freezing and stuff like that. So I figured if she could grow one, I could grow one too. So I went and bought myself a little olive tree. So what with my peach tree and my fig tree, I think that that constitutes an orchard. So I'm going to refer to the garden now as an orchard. You're not a gardener at all. I'm not, but having said that, I do like to see my garden look nice. So I take myself out there and do that. Okay, so there's our little piece in there. It fits. We've got a good box. I could probably have just done it a little bit because it's kind of sliding to the side, but I could have just done it perhaps a little bit shorter. But I thought if you're going to give this as a gift, you could put a little bit of tissue paper around it, and that would just hold it in place. So now we've got to work out what we're going to do on the front here. Okay. I think we're going to have a greeting. And Right, so while I think about the greeting, I think I'm going to put some ribbon around here to hold it down. So we have a choice. Do we go with the Lost Lagoon, which is one of the ink colours we've used, or should I use this Bubble Bath colour? The Bubble Bath has got like a really, it's kind of a bit shiny, and it's got a little thread in there of silver, so it's got some bling. And then this one is a little bit, a bit more sort of rustic. It's more of a loose weave, sort of homespun sort of effect. So if you've got any thoughts on that, perhaps you'll share that with me so that we put it in. Jan goes for pink. I know. Pink or apricot. Those are my two sort of like go-to colours that I like. So I'm going to use For You, because if I'm going to give this as a gift, I think For You is a perfect sentiment. So we could use Sending Hugs or Thinking About Thank You if it's a little thank you gift. You could use Hello, but I am going to go For You. Right. Okay, so there's my greeting. So I've got some scraps, and what we'll do is I'm going to use the Lost Lagoon, I think, for this bit, because I think I've mentioned on more than one occasion that Lost Lagoon was just one of my absolute favourite colours. That isn't such a good, let's just do this a few times. It maybe just needs, because it's the first time it's been used. And I was over the moon when it came back. Oh, that's better, as a permanent colour. Alright, so we're going to do some circles. So I've got my Stylish Shapes dies, and I need to choose, that one looks like it might be the right size. Okay, so I think that's the one, and then maybe a background one. Okay, so let's go and do that. I've got my handy dandy little mini here. Just cut some of this off. I don't need to put all of that in the machine. So I'm going to use my #1 plate, and then I'm going to put a #2 clear plate. You can see it's been used and used. It's much loved. And then I'm just going to pop my die down. I'm going to use some of this tape. As my dear friend Ellie in the UK, she suggested that I use these, and it works brilliantly. So that's that bit. There we go. And then I will want to layer it onto something. So I've used these 4 colours in my inks. So I need, what shall I put it on? Should I put it on the Lost Lagoon, since the ink is Lost Lagoon, or should I pop it on the darker pink? Fresh Freesia Bubble Bath. Not sure. Okay. Maybe you've got some thoughts. I'll just tidy this up. You can let me know what you think we ought to use. And Lagoon. Alright, we can go with Lagoon. Alright, so let's see how we're going to do this. I haven't got any working room, so let's go get the lagoon cut, and then I can get my little machine out of my way, and I'll have some room then to just do my final little bits. Oof. Right. Okay, so get all the bits cleared away. So we've got some working space. Right, so let us just put some dots. Can't resist the temptation of more dots, but I'm just going to pull that whiteness off of there with some dots, and this is using the bubble bath colour, and then we can get that stuck onto there. Now, my thought is to have it kind of here and have the ribbon, I'm not sure whether to have the bow on the top or the bow beneath. And then this piece will hold that ribbon in place. Oops, pulling it the wrong way. Aha, okay, I have just had a thought. No, it wasn't a good one. Okay. Let's make this happen. So it's never easy tying a bow. Oh, I need to work upside down. It's never easy tying a bow, and tying a bow on camera is even less easy. So let's see how we go from here. Right. So I'm gonna use the rabbit ear method. Ooh, just a sec. There's these tweezers that are part of the embossing additions kit. Maybe that will help me get this put in the right place. It will come to something if I've managed to create a box and everything in 45 minutes, and then it takes me another 45 minutes to put a bow on it. Right, let's see. Not my best attempt at a bow, but I think that it'll work. Let's just pull that down and ease that up and get my ribbon scissors. And then I've got my dimensionals, and I'm going to put them either side of my ribbon, like that. And then I'm going to put this so it's like half on and half off. Like that. And then whoever receives it can just open the little bow, pull the little bow all open, and they've got their little gift inside. Okay, so what do you think? So we've used the layering leaves stamp set and one of the new ribbons. We've pulled out a thank you very much, Jan, I appreciate the heart. And we've used some more colours. We did a one sheet wonder, and we've got our colours, and I also pulled out my stylish shape dies. Well, I do hope that you have enjoyed this project, and perhaps you'll feel a little bit more confident about maybe doing some 3D boxes yourselves. We went through and I showed you how to work it all out, and if you've enjoyed it, perhaps you'll give me a thumbs up. If you don't already subscribe, perhaps you'll go ahead and do that as well. And I will be back next week at the same time with another project, another set of ideas for you to help me create. Well, thank you for spending time with me this Sunday. I'll look forward to seeing you next week. Bye bye for now. You're welcome, Jan.